Welcome back, and we are going to continue our coverage of the 7th Mid-Year Coordination Summit meeting of the African Union hosted by Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, with the participation of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in light of Egypt's presidency of the North African Regional Capability and the chairmanship also of the Steering Committee of the Heads of State and Government of the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD. To shed more light on the whole issue, we are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio Engineer Mustafa Waly, former head of the Egyptian Federation of Industries. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. Very good morning.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Before going into detail, sir, how do you see the importance of this summit in specific and the keenness of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to go himself to Malabo and to address the gathering?
First of all, I would like to just highlight the importance of Africa to us and how important we also, as Egypt, important to Africa. And His Excellency President Sisi, in addressing all the requirements and all the events which where Egypt should be there on the highest level, especially in such occasions, is very indicative that Egypt is keen to have its role with Africa for the mutual benefit of Egypt and Africa at large.
Amen to that. And sir, if you permit me, I'm going to use your background as a former head of the Egyptian Federation of Industry to speak more about the cooperation within Africa, which was really evolving in the past decade, and how this is now a must because of all these circumstances around us.
Thank you for this, but let me correct something that I was the former general manager, not the head, former general manager.
I'm sorry, sir.
No, that's okay. I mean, I understand this. But to clarify the situation, but it was very important for me personally, and you know, through that era, especially starting from the 2000s, and that time there was a booming in cooperation with Africa at large, with all the economic and political institutions in Egypt on the African level, which always in such situation you could feel the importance and you could feel the feedback of such involvement of Egypt to that level. So His Excellency President Sisi, to keep this and maintain this, even in the toughest time where everything is okay, but also we have to give our share for caring for Africa and caring for the role of Egypt in Africa. So I appreciate very much personally, and I think the Egyptian people should appreciate that in such situation we never forget Africa and the importance of Africa for us. This is general, but it's actually serving all the interests of Egypt when it comes to dealing with Africa, which is very important ramification, which has a very important ramification on the Egyptian economy.
Africa is our strategic depth.
Exactly.
By all means. And since the presidency of Egypt to the African Union in 2019, Egypt launched a number of initiatives, and now we are continuing on the same track, silencing the gun, developing infrastructure, and even Cairo-Cape Town road, which is a dream. We hope one day it's going to be implemented on the ground. How do you see, sir, the importance of opening new markets and new horizons of cooperation with all African states, and to guarantee the implementation of the African free trade deal for the best interest of the African peoples?
Yeah, that's really very important and really very impressive what you say, and it's true. Our dealing with Africa is, in the first place, will directly affect our total situation in the continent. We are, as you mentioned, we are more than we are that African country. We are the northern gate of Africa, and the most important junction of the world, and this in itself is a blessing for us, and we hope we can utilize it to the maximum. In which sense that you mentioned this, a lot of projects based on the geographical situation, the geographical positioning of Egypt, and the potential of the Egyptian culture, the Egyptian advance, the Egyptian capacity in fulfilling and addressing important projects which will get to the benefit of the Egyptian from the side and for the African from the other side. Whoever will be there, whether it's on continental level or bilateral country to country. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of success stories in this case. It goes into economics, it goes into projects, it goes into political, and the more we get success, the more we will be successful in implementing all what we have in mind, all what is there in the very famous and most important initiative of NEPAD as the program actually for developing Africa at large. And our positioning, in running this institution or taking care or following up this institution, of course, through the chairmanship.
And to know how to finance these projects.
Here is the
guarantee the funds.
Here is.
Yes.
Here is. Well, there is a big portion or a big part of this issue to be solved is actually it's the time to pay the debts to Africa by the first world. I always say this. Yeah. I even mentioned this personally and I witnessed this. It should be said, it should be told, it should be demanded. And there are some response. There is a response, frankly speaking, there are response. I'm talking from the first world now, which we call it first world, I mean, let's say the colonization forces which have been colonizing Africa for generations. This when it comes to finance, but not only finance, it's actually a lot of other levels of cooperation can materialize into economic progress, which we are looking for. For example, facilitating the expertise in many fields needed by Africa, mainly in these sectors. This is according to what I have witnessed in water management, in agriculture, and of course industry. And with the development in the technology and all this, access should be open for African countries to get the best and the most and the latest in this. And this can be done, through cooperation between the African countries, those who have the chance to, like Egypt, for example, in development and so on, to share with African, and all together they can share, those development in the advanced world, where there is a lot of
Egypt
development.
is ready all the time to exchange expertise in all domains. Yes. With our African brothers. Yes. And sir, if you permit me to quote some of the statements which were released in an exclusive interview with Ala Rashwan, the Egyptian TV correspondent, as he had an exclusive interview with our ambassador in Equatorial Guinea. And I was really so proud when I listened to His Excellency speaking about the Arab contractors or Al-Muqawlun Al-Arab as only one example of the Egyptian companies which is continue to work in Equatorial Guinea as an example, and to make sure that all the projects are going to be implemented on the ground according to the highest levels, and to be one of the fruitful results of mutual cooperation. If you want to elaborate on that.
Yes, starting with the Arab contractors, just as an example, because this is an Egyptian company, Egyptian entity anyway. We should be proud of its success. And its success is true. I myself witnessed this through my visits to many African countries when I was in charge. The only thing that the most impressive that you will see the people there, will proudly tell you that this was Egyptian hands, this was Egyptian project. And a lot of such things, such projects and such success stories have been now renewed and started in the sense that, how we can get into new projects needed by African countries, and also which can help us if if we can, يعني, if it will be of benefit to us, because if it's benefit to Africa in a way or another, it will benefit us. I mean, as a member, founding member of the African Union. That's very important, actually. It's big stores. Let me tell you something. A lot of entities, a lot of private business entities in Egypt now, taking, I wouldn't say the ambition or the risk of investing in Africa. No, they studied very well. No, they studied.
They studied the market.
This is what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They studied it. They are
Before
sure
going
of
there.
it, and they went so strongly in it. A lot of Egyptian entities, actually for big projects in Africa. And of course, the Egyptian authorities are following this, and this is a good reference for us in general, as a
without
country.
Infrastructure, without energy, this is not going to be that much successful.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
energy, renewable energy, developing infrastructure are among the main topics which are going to be discussed in this summit in specific. How do you see these topics, sir, as a must to study, not only to study, to exchange expertise in it, and to make sure that there is such a cooperation among all African states to make sure that it's going to be a win-win situation?
It is there, actually. And you mentioned now the renewable energy, for example. Actually, this is a green field for all of us. And the effect will be directly on the economy and the level of life and the standard of life, standard living there in Africa, and alleviating the poverty in Africa. This is very important, because at least we can utilize this topic, I mean, of renewable energy, and increasing the available energies, all the available energies, to at least increase the capacity of agriculture, at least to minimize and to alleviate totally the hunger in Africa. That's a very big issue, and it's doing well.
Security is part and parcel of national security.
Absolutely, absolutely.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was keen in all occasions to express Egypt's keenness to boost relations with all our African brothers and all over Africa. And for example, climate change, or our COP27, was focusing on African rights, as we are in Africa paying the price of what the developed countries did. And to continue on that, silencing the gun, our hepatitis C campaign, we did not stop at the Egyptians. Also, we did that with our African brothers. How do you see the Egyptian initiatives taking place all the time to make sure that we are exchanging expertise with our African brothers?
Okay, if you refer to the success of NEPAD as a project for developing Africa, there is a lot. I was really fascinated, but by time it covered all areas, and you find some organizations in Africa and in African countries, with Egypt organization covering medical, scientific, new energies, a lot, very big and very good cooperation through the activities. If you go to individual countries, I mean individual by country to country, or Egypt to with Africa at large, it is there. The only thing we have to highlight this and boost the feelings for doing business with Africa, on the understanding that we are part of Africa, and Africa is important. Africa is our depth when it comes a lot of things. Let's not forget that this is the source of our artery of life.
Sir, let me focus also on the role of the private sector, if you permit me. If you want to elaborate on the role of the private sector and the role of SMEs, because of course the national mega projects or the mega projects are very important, but without the success of SMEs, no economy can really achieve development on the ground.
We look at SMEs as is. It's an important and integrated integrated means for increasing the economic yield or the economic situation, developing the economic situation. We have success stories in Egypt for SMEs, and we could be actually, when it comes to whole Africa and some other countries, we are in a very good position when it comes to ranking in supporting SMEs. Let me tell you something, and it was really very fascinating. Through my time in the Federation and also before and after, I was witnessing, how a lot of SMEs were participating in exhibitions in African countries, and how similar, SMEs
And
in
vice
Africa, vice versa, in attending a lot of African exhibitions in Egypt. This is very
But here,
important.
sir, I think I cannot miss speaking about localizing industry as an aim, as a goal, which is really now occupies a first priority for Egypt. How do you see the importance of giving this experience or exchanging this experience with our African allies and our African brothers? Because Africa is very rich with its resources, its raw materials. How do you see the benefits of localizing industry in Africa in general?
It goes without saying, the more you localize efficiently, that's very important, efficiently. I mean, using the most efficient way of manufacturing, because at the end it's manufacturing. This is the basic for success. It's essential. But let me tell you something. I noticed that our export, our volume, total volume of trade with Africa reached 9.8 billion in 2024. There was an increase in this, That's something very, very positive. I mean, we have to go like this. That indicates in general that there is a progress in dealing with Africa, because such figures will come through dealing. And also increasing the volume of, when it comes to this, is export increase there, and also import from Africa. Then it's Africa, we part of Africa. In this exchange, this is good for us also, if it increase, because also it helped in a way or another in exporting to Africa. The more we get this and get it sustainable, I mean, and always increase, this will be the manifestation of success in cooperation with Africa. This I just wanted to remind you, to give you an example of this just recently. I agree with you, that it must be like that.
Sir, also President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is scheduled to meet with a number of heads of states and I think also businessmen and heads of governments participating in the summit. And this is going to take place on the sidelines of the EU mid-year meeting. How do you see the importance of these individual meetings and the keenness of the President to meet himself with his counterparts to make sure that he is going to seize the chance for more cooperation, for more deals, for more markets to be opened, for new horizons of cooperation?
Frankly speaking, and it's no compliment, it's true that the President Sisi in all his visits to Africa and all his dealing with Africa, I mean Africa at large, and then with special meetings with some African leaders, and in the events, inside Africa or even in the United Nations, the role of Egypt is felt and is well addressed and well accepted in this case, and approved and even important, as we have seen. Such meetings, it will inform the people that, okay, Egypt is doing well with Africa at large. That in itself, to make it in a short story, that things are okay with Africa at large, that's very important. You know what I mean? Let's be frank, that there is not that so much big problems with any of African country with Egypt. No, there is always cooperation, even for misunderstanding that can be solved through political and meeting and so on. Which means that in this case, Africa will act as a continent in the direction of progressive direction for the whole African countries. We are leader in this. Actually, by the actual situation, you know, we are in the chairmanship of the steering committee of the
steering committee and
and also the North African capability. Yeah, you see this, yeah.
And we are going to follow minute by minute all the activities that are taking place in Malabo, and of course the speech of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi addressing the gathering. So only on Nile TV International you are going to witness all the events as if you were there. Well, Engineer Waly, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day.
Thank you very much for this.
Well, by this we come to the end of our breakfast show, but stay tuned on Nile TV International always for more. Many thanks for watching. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman.